The following is a Comfortably Zoned Radio Network production.
Thank you, Tally Olson. I am back. You are comfortably zoned with me, the Zig Zag Man, in Alameda, California, right across the bay from San Francisco, across the moat from Oakland, and kind of a somber occasion for me and the network. I'm thankful that Hal Bock is here to help me through it. As a lot of you know and a lot of you don't know, our Marty Rose, who has been the host of the co-host of the New York Mets in the Zone on the Comfortably Zoned Radio Network from the get-go. I was just a podcaster, and Marty was still working, hadn't retired yet, at the AP, and I said, look, if I could get this going, I'd like you to fulfill our boyhood dream. Since we were 10, all we talked about was sports. And the reason we talked about sports so much was Marty's upbringing by Jack and his uncle, who worked with the AP and was an illustrious boxing writer and what have you. But what he did was shower we kids with what we called guest passes. The Knicks, the Rangers, the Jets, they were the Titans at the time. We had front row seats to every event in town because of his connect with the AP. And you know how life goes around. Hal Bock was Murray's student, mentor. What's the word you can use to describe your relationship with Murray Rose, Hal Bock?
Murray, when I got to the Associated Press, Murray Rose was one of this lineup of the golden age of sports. I mean, we had a lineup of sports writers that was just unmatched. They were the cream of the cream, and Murray was the boxing writer. Now, I had no interest in boxing particularly, but Murray was such a good guy. He kind of took me under his wing, and he said, you just do what I tell you to do, and you'll be fine. Keep your mouth shut, your nose open, your eyes open, and your ears open, and you'll be okay. And that's what I did. I kept my mouth shut and my eyes and ears open. And I watched Murray Rose do everything. He did everything. He was the desk editor. He was the boxing writer. He was the supervisor for the young staffers like myself. And I learned an awful lot from Murray Rose. And I did anything he wanted me to do. I remember coming to work one night. I used to work from 5:30 to 2. And he said, I got to load you up tonight, Hal. And I said, what? He said, you got to write 3 budget stories. Now, budget stories were the main stories of the cycle. And to write a budget story was a big deal. To write 2 of them was a bigger deal, and to write 3 of them was unheard of. But Murray needed me to do it. We were shorthanded, and these stories had to be written, and I was the guy. And I went to work, and I relished it, and I loved it. And I went over the stories with Murray, and Murray showed me where I had gone right and where I'd gone wrong. Murray Rose was like a second father to me, and I worshiped the guy. He really was a terrific guy to be around, to learn from. Now, Murray's brother was Jack Rose. Jack was a teletype operator. That was Marty's father. And Jack was a teletype operator. So, and any given day, you were going to come in contact with a Rose, one of the two of them, or maybe both of them. And it was a tremendous education. These guys were the professionals. These guys were the guys who made the AP go. And I was privileged to work with them and alongside them. And it was just a great experience for a young kid.
Well,
Murray wound up as the associate sports editor, I think, in his later years. And I'll tell you a funny story about that, and a little bit of an insight of what the great world of sports is like. Now, Murray was a prominent, and I mean prominent, boxing writer. There probably was no better known boxing writer in America than Murray Rose, because don't forget, he's writing for The Wire. The Wire is going everywhere. The AP Wire is everywhere.
Right.
So now, as we all do, he came to a point in his life and in his career that it was time to retire. And so Murray's going to retire, and the week that he's going to retire, there was going to be a press conference, a Don King press conference. And if you've never seen a Don King press conference, it's quite an event. And Murray expected to be invited, even though he was just retired. And they said, no, you're not invited. In other words, he had lost his entree into the special world that we occupy, the world of sports, because he had retired.
I'm going to put that as akin to your losing your vote for the Hall of Fame when you retired.
Well, I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. But the point is that that's kind of a really unpleasant way to treat a man like Murray, who wrote boxing, must have written boxing for 40 years. And he covered everybody. He covered Joe Louis. He covered Jersey Joe Walcott. He covered Ezzard Charles. He covered Muhammad Ali. He covered them all. And Rocky Marciano. And, you top to bottom, And in those days, boxing was a much more important sport than it is today.
And probably was just the heavyweights. There were the middle divisions. Ray Robinson, he covered.
Oh, absolutely.
There were great boxers. Yeah,
they were just great boxers. And to watch them, it was almost like watching a ballet. When they went in the ring, they were just very skilled boxers, and Murray captured it all. Murray would sit at ringside with a teletype operator. The teletype operator was a guy named Nick Zincone. He was a specialist. He worked with Murray. They were a team. And Zincone would sit there with his head down over the keyboard, and Murray would sit next to him with his arm around Zincone's shoulder, and he would talk into Zincone's ear, essentially giving him play-by-play of a round. Now, punches are being thrown left and right by these guys, and Murray is giving play-by-play to Nick Zincone, who's punching play-by-play on the wire. It was a remarkable thing to watch.
Wow.
And I was privileged. I always consider myself privileged to have witnessed that show, because Murray Rose was a giant in journalism, in sports journalism. That's the best way I can put it. And I learned a ton of stuff from him, and I was grateful to be in his presence when I was, several years. And it was a fun ride, because not only was he a terrific journalist and terrific at the job that he did, but he made it fun. It was a fun time to be working with him. He was a terrific guy.
Well,
and Jack was too. His brother was as well. They had a great sense of humor, and it was fun to be around those people. So anyway, that's my Murray Rose story.
Well, let me tell you Jack Rose's story, and I think you may have heard it on the air here. Marty and I and 19 other kids from Newtown High School played hooky in 1964 to see the Shea Stadium open, first game of Shea Stadium.
Right.
And every one of those 19 kids had permission from their parents except me. And my mother is out. Jack, if you'll remember, worked the shifts. For most of his working life, he worked swing shift. And he would do the shopping for his wife, Ruth, and Marty's dad, by the way. And my mom would go out with the shopping cart, which was welded to her arm after a bit. 25 years of raising two kids, and they fall into line going shopping, Walgreens or whatever it was. And Jack's friendly and just a sweet disposition. And he says, "Kids have a nice day for a game, huh?" My mother goes, "What?" Oh, yeah, and they explained it's opening day and what have you. Well, I got home, and my mother was angry as a hornet, and Jack had given it away. But that just a sweet family, a sweet, nice man was Jack, and unfortunately, Marty is suffering from a horrible disease, and he's going through some hell. Stoic guy that he is, there are no complaints, and I just wanted to have you share a little taste of where he came from, the Rose family. And so he worked at the AP. I don't know if your paths had crossed there. He and Paige.
Only occasionally, Ralph. I mean, I knew that he was in the building, but he worked on a different floor in a different department. So, I mean, we would pass each other in the lunchroom maybe or something like that. But that was the only time I would see Marty. I worked on the newsroom floor, and he worked in the business department.
Right.
So it was it was a separate world, really. But I wanted to tell you one other story about Murray Rose. Murray went to the Olympics before we used to dispatch a small army of people to the Olympics, and I was part of that army. But in the early days, the 1960s and 50s, we would only send one or two people to the Olympics, and Murray was one of those people. So Murray gets to the Olympics in Melbourne, Australia. I guess it's 1956 or thereabouts, maybe 52. And what does he find but a swimmer, an Australian swimmer named Murray Rose? So our Murray, our Murray goes up to their Murray and introduces himself, and they had a great laugh about it. The one was a great athlete, the other was a terrific writer. So they had a very interesting interlocking time at those Olympics.
Very nice. Hal, thank you for giving us an insight to Mert's family, and thank you for expressing everything you expressed on YouTube, on Facebook, honoring him. I did a reel, what they call a reel on Facebook, where you put music to pictures. The Boxer by Simon and Garfunkel was Marty's favorite song, is Marty's favorite song. And you could see why. In his, he's just the kind of guy that can be knocked down and still get up as much as possible. I loved him as a friend and still do and always will. So best to you, Peg, and his wonderful family. Very sad that his wonderful granddaughter is only 5 years old and won't get to spend the proper amount of time being loved by Grandpa. What can I tell you? Tough. As a network, because of people like Al Blumkin and yourself, I will carry it on for as long as humanly possible and continue to pay tribute to people like Ron Rabinovich and Mark Littell, who gave us so many hours of podcasting greatness. And I promise to keep Marty's name up with theirs, and that's all I can do. It's
that's well said. That's well said, Ralph.
I thought about, hey, this is it. I can't do anything, but it would be a slap in the face to those who still want to contribute, who still contribute great podcasts, and it would be a slap in the face to Marty's memory. And so I will do what I can to keep it going. It will be with a heavy heart, and it will be never the same. So just wanted to share that with you, Hal. Thank you for being my friend.
I'm here for you, pal.
I called you Hal. I meant to say Heshy. I meant to say Heshy. All right. Be well, and thank you for listening, everybody. Thank you for helping me remember the roses, and thanks for the wonderful stories, Hal Bock.
Okay.
Talk soon. Adios,
right.
And happy trails.
Be well. Be well. Good night.
Sei gesund.
The proceeding has been a Comfortably Zoned network production. You are advised to keep your dreams wet, your humor dry, your children and grandchildren out of military recruiting offices and off the laps of clerics who wear dresses. Thank you for listening, everyone. Happy trails.